Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem. This is a postmortem of my Blitz chess game number 200. I was white here, kicked off with e4, and my opponent played c5. Here, let's put on a little sound. c5, getting into the Sicilian. Knight c6, and my opponent, I play knight f3, and my opponent plays knight c6. The second choice here, very flexible move leading to a number of different setups. I play d4, going for an open Sicilian, takes, and then e5. This is the setup to the Kalashnikov variation, which is similar to the Sveshnikov. The Sveshnikov, you play your knight to f6 first. That's the top choice. And then after white defends with the knight to c3, then you play the move e5. But the immediate e5, that's Kalashnikov. But my opponent, and you can play knight b5 here, just like in the Sveshnikov, eyeing this square here. And my opponent plays this very rare move, queen a5 check, and we're just out of the opening book at this point. So queen a5 check is not a particularly great move, but I didn't refute it. I looked this up later. I'm going to leave the chess engine off because I have some tactical quizzes I want to present during the course of the game, so I don't want the computer giving the answer away here. But it says the best move here was to play knight to c3, and it gives white a really strong edge after that. He's just got better development and good control of the center, and white has this weakness here, and there's still the threat of knight to d6 check, winning the bishop pair. So that'd be a good way to play. It was a new position to me, and I wasn't sure if this knight might get stranded out here. So after knight c3, black could play d6 and maybe threaten a6 later, and this knight might find it a little bit awkward, similar to the Sveshnikov. It has trouble. Takes it a few moves to find a good home. So I just retreated that knight, and now the position is about equal. So black has done fine here. He has survived his opening experiment, and so now we just do some normal developing moves. Castle. Oh, he castled first. I castle. He plays d5. d5 is not a bad move. It still keeps some edge for black, and I think it's safe to open up the center here because he's already castled. He's got decent development. I still have this awkwardly placed knight, so not a bad choice. His mistake comes here. He should really just recapture this pawn. There's no reason not to play knight takes. Knight takes d5 there because the knight's defended by the queen, so I'm not winning a piece there or anything. So the game might go knight takes, queen takes, and this knight. There's the other key point. His bishop is still defended by his knight, so I'm just not winning any material here. He's got a nice open position. It's a little bit simplified, but keeps the material balance. Whereas what he played. He played the move knight to d4 here. An interesting, aggressive move, but it doesn't threaten anything immediately and just allows me to hold on to my pawn. So that gives me a little bit of time. I need to untangle my development, find a way to develop my knight on b1, which doesn't seem to have any good squares. So I start by playing knight e4. He takes. I take. And then I can grab this bishop here, which was... he took my bishop, yeah. I was going to say, that this actually helps me because now this knight has a fine home on d2 supporting the bishop. So, we lost the game. Hold on just a second. Sometimes that happens where you lose the game. Let's move forward. And we just started. It overwrote the game with the new line that I was playing. So we got up to this point. Castles, d5. Yeah, so letting me have the pawn here was a mistake. And then he played bishop takes d2, and I played knight takes d2. This is exactly the position we're at. And so, white's just better here. He's a pawn up, and my development problems have been solved. And I'm going to kick this knight with the move c3, and I'll be in good shape. So black played queen c7 here, and I went c3. I went to b5. It couldn't go back to the natural square on c6 because this pawn is guarding that square. So not only is it an extra pawn, but it's a strong pawn in the center. So I continue my development. trying to get my pieces on good squares. This d6 square is a good square for his knight, though. It just took him a couple moves to get there, but it does chase the bishop away. And bishop to g4, setting a pin here. And there's a little trap here. If I play my queen up to d3 to unpin the knight, then he can push this pawn forward and fork the queen and the knight. Very annoying. So I hit his bishop. He retreats. And but oh yeah, let's back up. Instead of hitting his bishop, though, so I was annoyed about this tactic, and I was trying to take care of the bishop. But it turns out I have a tactic here. So this is your first tactical quiz. It's White's turn to move, and what would you play as White here? Okay, pause the video if you want more time to think about it. This is a pretty stock kind of tactic, so I think you should get it. I should have spotted it during the game, in fact. Bishop takes h7 check. You should always be on the lookout for these moves that dislodge the king. If the king takes, then you've got knight here check, and you win the bishop. So White's just 2 pawns up now, and got the bishops off, and the queen's active. So White's just winning here. So that would be the best way to play it. Old bishop takes h7 check. This is not a Greek gift sacrifice because you're immediately getting the material back. The Greek gift sacrifice is similar. It's a sack on h7, but the idea is you play it for a mating attack. Here you're just simply winning the piece back because that bishop was sitting there undefended. So anyway, good tactic to have in your database. I didn't spot it. Okay, so I play h3 and g4, and he plays e4. And now the chess engine here, I don't necessarily agree with this, but I'll just go ahead and tell you what it said. It said I should just take the bishop and have an advantage this way, because he takes, and I pick up another pawn. And I thought about this, but I didn't really like it. I mean, I am 2 pawns up, but my king side is kind of disrupted, so seemed like a needless risk, and I thought I had a decent position here anyway without taking those kind of chances. So I just moved my knight away, knight d4. And the game continued. He retreated his bishop, but I guess the other move was better. And so we get into this interesting position where I've got some pressure on the e file here, but he maneuvers his knight to the square e5, and he always has this threat of knight to f3 check, forking the king and the rook. And this knight here is very important to guard against that. And the main idea here is if knight f3 check, I take his knight, pawn takes, and then I can take the rook on the back rank, because after rook takes, I take back with the rook, and it's checkmate. So I'm secure from this threat. And so I decided to play the pawn to c4. But there's a weakness to this move. It's classic weakness of the last move. So see if you can, there's your second tactical quiz. It's black's turn here. See if you can take advantage of my mistake here. What should black play here? Okay, I'm going to give the answer away. Pause the video if you want more time. The answer is queen to b6. So that hits my loose knight. And what c4 did is it undefended the knight. That's why it's a weakness of the last move. It left this piece loose here, and he can hit it. And I don't want to move this piece because it's guarding against the knight f3 check. But I can't really defend it either. If I play, for example, rook to d1, then black can play this tactic, knight f3 check, and I take, he takes. And I've got to take back with the queen because there's no longer a threat because I've misplaced my my rook by defending the knight. And then here's the kicker at the end of the tactic. He has bishop takes c2, so he wins a piece. So that's why this is good for black. So it's not just knight f3 here, which basically, because my knight is still in place, just loses a pawn. But after that pawn is gone, my bishop is hanging. My queen has been displaced by that sequence. So it's queen b6, rook d1 to defend the knight, knight f3 check. I take the knight. He takes f3. I take the pawn back because my queen is under attack by both the rook and the pawn. and then he can grab my bishop, and he's attacking my rook. So, I've got 2 pawns for the piece, but black is clearly better in this position. So here, after queen b6, in fact, the chess engine says that my best move is to play knight to b5, but then that allows knight f3 check with my rook still here, so I am losing the exchange. And I'm a couple pawns up for the exchange, and it's about even, maybe slight edge for black. So it's not a winning tactic, but it definitely puts black back in the game. So that's the interesting point right here. So queen b6. He played instead queen to d8, and the game continued. I was able to grab the pawn here, and now I've got a pretty good position. Now this knight check doesn't win the queen because I can take the knight with my queen, so there's no hanging pieces anymore. So he tries this tactic, knight takes c4, grabbing a pawn and attacking my queen. So here's your last, oh no, actually there's one more after this. Here's your third tactical quiz. What should white play here? Okay, pause the video if you want time to think about it. I'm gonna give the answer away. It's a move I actually played during the game, so I didn't miss all the tactics. I spotted this one. It's an interesting one. I mean, it looks like this is attacking the queen, but I'm attacking the rook too. And you just have to look at the order in which the pieces come off. I grab the rook. The only way he has to take back is with the queen, and then I grab the queen, and then he takes back. And I've just eliminated a queen and a rook from both sides, and it's my turn to move, and then I can grab the knight. So all that came with tempo because these moves were with check, so he never had time to save his knight. So that's an interesting way. You see this surprisingly often. It's just a bit of a miscalculation. You think this rook is well supported here and it's attacking the queen, but if you look at the order in which the pieces come off, and you just go through the moves in your head, you realize that at the end you can just grab the knight, and the material is even except for that knight, so you've just won a piece. So now I'm just winning here, and I'll just go through the next moves kind of quickly. I didn't necessarily play the most accurate moves here, but I keep the advantage the whole time. When you've got this advanced pawn, it's very tempting just to push it, and that's probably a winning strategy. And then finally I get my rook down here where I can threaten to remove another piece, take it, and then I can just bring my king up to help the pawn. Notice he can never take my knight. When you have a knight supporting a pawn like this in the endgame, and the knight is behind the pawn, the king can never take the knight because the pawn goes ahead and queens. So common endgame trick. And so this gives me time to bring my king forward and create a queen, which I do, and then he resigns here after I play knight a8. But knight a8 is actually not the best move here. So here's your final tactical quiz. What's the best way for white to finish the game here? Okay, I'm going to give it away now. Pause the video if you want time to search for this. I hope you found this one. It is queen to d6 here is just a checkmate because his king has nowhere to go. It's funny, you think of a queen move naturally in a position like this. I was thinking of the move queen to d5 or queen to d7. I didn't think about queen to d6, right in between. So it's sorry. Get rid of those lines. Yeah, so the queen on d6 here provides a nice checkmating pattern. The only two escape squares for the king are this one here, which is occupied by his own piece, and this one here, which is guarded by the pawn. So nice mating pattern. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed that. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.